Hello guys, and welcome to a new Steel Division 2 video today by me, Vulcan. Today I have for you game 1 of a best of 3 between Nilla and Pixy in the quarterfinals of the Season 5 playoffs of the Steel Division 2 League. Today they are playing on Shchedrin, and on our left in the red team, playing on the Soviet side, we have Nilla using the 26th Guards Rifles and the Vanguard deployment type. And on our right, in the blue team, also playing on the Allied side, we have Pixy using the 2nd US Infantry and the Vanguard deployment type. Please remember that all of the games you're going to see in the finals of the Steel Division League Season 5 were played before the Burning Baltics DLC and the range rework. So let's have a quick look at what's going down for these two. So M8, a couple flamethrowers on top side so far for Pixy. And quite a large investment into the bottom side here for Pixy. He's got the M4A1s with the Command M4A1s. It's going to make his Sherman's 2-star veterancy. He's got 2 M1 guns. He's got 3 of the 30 cals, flamethrowers, and a bunch of rifles and rangers. So this is an interesting play. We've seen JKW try to go for like a large investment into the bottom side of the map early on before, but I think Pixy's definitely got it a little bit better here because he's decided to bring in plenty of infantry to back it up, and he probably means to capture the hill and this hill early on so that he can protect his flanks for his Shermans as he pushes on to the 26th Guards. But on the top side, it's going to be adding a few more infantry there, some rifles early, the Ranger Marauders. So that's all well and good. For Nilla, we've got the 45mm up there. He's going to have a couple of Gavardia DP squads. Flamer, PTRS is also going to be the Avtos. Further down, we see a couple more Flamers with the PTRS and Shchedrin. Standard Shchedrin squads are basically like Sapare, a little bit better with the grenades in there and the 2-star veterancy base, which is quite nice. Then on this bottom side, we've got a couple of snipers coming in with the M3A1 Razvedka recon vehicles. It's going to provide him with a couple extra 50 cals there. PTRS leading the charge with a couple Sapare, Gavardia, Shchedrin, and 2 KV-85s and an IS-1 at the start. That is a large amount of armor on this bottom side. But facing off against the M4s, Pixy might find himself in a bit of trouble. And you can see that Pixy's finally moved up all his troops. If you wondered why he spread that out, it's probably just so that he could give them orders easier at the start of the game. And then once he's done, he can just move them onto the road. So these are the orders from Pixy. Looks like he's got 2 distinct groups that are going to be trying to push for the hills on either side of all of his tanks. And then he's got, well, on the side of Nilla, we've got pretty much the same thing. So infantry heading up here, infantry heading up here, and then we've got the tanks moving up. Although these tanks I don't think are actually... We've got 2 going up onto the hill, yeah. And 2 are going to be going around to the bottom side. So it looks like he's going to try and get his flank on a little bit there. So Nilla and Pixy, both pretty good players. Let's see how they get on in this one. We've already seen Karma knock out JKW. You guys have to predict who's going to win out on these ones in the comments. PTRS, will it get any kills early on? Ooh, 1 flamer goes down to the PTRS. Instantly makes the PTRS worth it. M3A1s are now unlocked. The snipers are firing away, but that is 30 cals. So those snipers might actually die pretty quickly. The M1 gun's looking to try and clean up the M3A1 Razvedkas. And now it's going to fall back since both of the armoured units are dealt with. Both the snipers now being pinned down. P47 comes in with the bombing strike. The 227 kilogram bomb gets the job done. Gets rid of that support early on. So Nilla losing quite a lot of points there in support units, but probably not too worried about that. Rifles early here. Going to now be engaging the enemy infantry. Ranger Marauders going for the Uknemachiki. Use the Willy Pete to kill off the... or to push the flamers out of the buildings there. And the Ranger Marauders going to finish them off. These Rangers are actually making some decent ground. The Shchedrin, these have like 8 submachine guns and a machine gun. You generally don't want them to use their machine gun at range because it just kind of gives them away. But at close range, like the 7 submachine guns can do a serious amount of damage. These rifles getting absolutely demolished by the Gavardia DP here. Veterancy being provided by the Avtos, making those 2 stars. Sapperly also trying to deal with the Rangers, but the Rangers are really good. 2-star veterancy, do a lot of damage. This one's got to be careful though, unless Nilla leaves it for a 1v1. That's not a good idea. Generally, when you're using HE grenade units, you want a 2v1 flamer units, because if you leave units 1v1 against flamers, flamers almost always win because they fire faster. And the HE from like these squads never has chance to land. So I'd say that's a little bit of a mistake. He needs to just make sure that he double teams that so that at least one of them gets its HE grenade off and then he can just wipe out the squad with 1 grenade. But it seems as though Nilla's kind of focusing more on the top side here right now. He's managed to overwhelm one of the rifle squads. The second one's quite lonely up here for sure. There's a lot of Gavardia in this front line pushing forwards, a lot on either side of this one rifle early squad. Probably tells Nilla that there's quite a lot of ground to gain there. The M8's trying to move around on this top side, maybe cut up some reinforcements. But so far, yeah, these Shchedrin not really having a good time. Flamethrowers do get taken out by the KV-85s. This is such a strong armor start that honestly Pixy just cannot deal with. He needs to get like some M1 guns into some decent positions if he wants to kill those. He could also potentially go for bombing strikes or artillery. If he had like an early xylophone, maybe he could pin them down with those and then try and make an offensive play with his tanks. But he's going to opt to use the M10 tank destroyers. They do have APCR shells. So they're going to be able to get through that front armor. It's just that they are pretty weak themselves. So he's going to have to micro those extremely well if he wants to get the job done. Shchedrin do manage to end up finishing off the Ranger squad somehow. These Rangers, though, can they deal with the second Sapperly squad? They've dealt with the first. Looks like Pixy might just be falling back here so that the M4A1 can help out. And that Sapperly squad just gets demolished. The flamethrower squad from Pixy gets picked off in the open. Things are currently 14-10 in favour of Nilla. Nilla's hold over this town is giving him quite a nice advantage because he's getting this flag and this flag from Pixy's side of the map. But on the bottom, looks like, oh, potential for a side shot there doesn't come through. The M1 gun does have line of sight though. That's going to be 1 KV-85 down. Really nicely done. M1 gun gets the job done. That is exactly what you want to see. That's what these are for. The M1 gun cleaning up those KV-85s. If he can take out both of those at the start here, then he's going to be in an extremely good position. The M4A1s are trying to make their way round at the moment. Are going to discover the Gavardia DP, but the Gavardia DP gets a side shot with the PTR-D. You barely ever see those penetrate. Oh, it's actually a rear shot, probably. Damn. Bit of a mistake there from Pixy allowing that to happen. Oof. That is not nice to see. If that was me, I would be mad right now. I really would. Anyway, Pixy's trying to do his best with the basics here in the town, and basics are pretty decent in that they can engage well at medium range, but they do have ammo problems on their M1 Garands, and you can see that coming to fruition there onto that one basic squad further up. Once they run out of ammunition, those basics are obviously useless. The rifles early here, trying their best to deal with the Gavardia. One of the squads did get taken out with the help of the M4. P47 coming in with the bombing strike, but that is 2 M15s. Will they manage to shoot down the P47? I think that they might. The 37 mil on the M15 might just be enough. No, looks like the P47D managed to get away. It went quite low behind the mountain, so the M15s couldn't stay on target. This M1 gun in a very, very risky location, not being supported by any infantry. Looks like at the moment Pixy's kind of just like forgot to reinforce his AT guns here with infantry. Like this one's isolated, and he's brought them in on their own. One of the basic squads did just get killed there before unloaded by the KV-1E, so that's not good. What was quite a nice start, I feel, for Pixy on the bottom, especially getting the kill onto one of the KV-85s and not really losing too many of his M4s, has now turned into a pretty big problem. The Shchedrin took out the M1 gun up on the hill. The 30 cal might be able to take it out, but this one's still very vulnerable without another basic squad. M4A1 moving into the town to support the basics push through here. That should be able to help out quite nicely with some close range fire support. But yeah, these rifle earlies are really needed right now. He needs to take back this hill. It shouldn't be too difficult with enough of these rifles. Like these, if he's moving all of these up on the hill, which he is, then he's going to be able to clean up these. But I guess if these two Gavardia, like the Gavardia DP and the Gavardia squads here, get into position before those rifles early make it there, then they will benefit from having the veterancy. Also, the KV-85s countering the use of the M4A1. So these rifles, they don't have a way to deal with something like a KV-85. So that's where you'd want to see probably a Ranger Marauder squad join those at the beginning to clean up any tanks you do bump into. The M4A1, don't know if that got penetrated again by the PTRD there. It might have, but Pixie's managed to take back at least one of the flags in the town. He's also took back the bridge here, so in fact 2 objectives. Basics is going to take a bombing strike to the face. Actually, it hits the bridge. The basics are left alive. But the AT gun has been lost up on the ridge. KV-85 reveals itself. M4A1 has to back off. Rifles early get demolished. This is a really, really tough spot for Pixie right now. He's going to have to use these M10s to get the better of these heavier armor pieces, but just serious lack of artillery, I think. With the second US, you can get 60mm mortars, which are really fast firing and really good for pinning down like individual units, especially tanks that are stood idle. So just having like 1 or 2 of those here might have been nice to help him out. They only cost like 40 points each, they're pretty cheap. But in this case, the KV-85 just getting the better of him. The M4A1 obviously has just gone down, so the Gavardia are kind of free to move forwards with the support of the KV-85. He's going to try and move around the M10 tank destroyers. As long as he doesn't get them spotted, he might be able to get the jump on the KV-85. I'm not sure the line of sight's quite right here. Well, that's going to be going for the shot across. Oh, nice penetration there. Can he get another one? Ooh, the M10 takes the shot to the face. Oh no, the APCR's not doing enough damage, and the KV-85 will most likely win that engagement because it's going to get the shot off first. M10 goes down. Second M10 going to take the kill. Trading an M10 for a KV-85 isn't actually that bad. It's a pretty good kill for him. These rifles having a hard time getting up on the hill, especially with that KV-1E in the way. Going to have to bring in another M10 to counter that. I haven't seen like any Hellcats, so I assume he's going to have Hellcats in phase B. But that's going to be the KV-85 taking out another M4 in the town. Ranger Marauders weren't even moved to take care of that yet. This Ranger Marauder squad's really got to start getting some value. P47 comes in with a rocket strike. Was looking for the kill onto the IS-1, nearly finds it. Those P47s can be very, very effective sometimes. The M10 kind of just caught on the road here with the fast move attack, or what is known as quick hunt in the game. It's kind of just popping its low HE into the Gavardia there, which isn't really that helpful when it really needs to move up and deal with the KV-1E ASAP. Yak 9B coming in with the bombing strike now onto the rifles here. That's not good news. They're all going to be pinned down. The M4A1 goes down, and Pixie's just being picked apart by these KV-85s, slowly but surely. The KV-1Es. Seems like Nilla's just played this as almost the perfect counter to the second US early on. But I do feel like the lack of artillery use from Pixie has really put him at a disadvantage. If he had like just some of the cheap mortars early on, he would have been in a much better place. He wouldn't have actually had to invest in as much infantry, because his infantry engagements would be won by the fact that the enemy is being mortared. Here we go for another strike. The P47 diving straight towards AA. Oh, that is not good. The bomb still goes off, kills Resist 3, but the P47 might go down here. Yep. There it goes. Took a lot of damage on their way in. M10 moving up to deal with the KV-85. Nice bailout. That is exactly what you want to see. Beautiful stuff. If he can get more engagements like that, then he might be able to find a way back into this game. But this M10, not going to be able to deal with KV-1Es very easily. It does get a penetrating shot there into one of them, but these KV-85s are almost, I was going to say 100% penetration chance. Definitely more penetration, I would say, than the M10, especially when the M10 ends up using up all of its APCR. So the M10 in that extended engagement will die. Yeah, unless it got really lucky. It was definitely dead there. Rifles taking out these flamers. It's currently 17-7. Unfortunately, it just feels like Mickey's just had a really bad game here. Very uncharacteristic of Pixy. He's a very good player. Fortunately, I think it's just a matchup that Pixy maybe wasn't expecting or didn't quite know how to deal with. KV-85 taking out that M4A1 is pretty big there. Allows the Gavardia to finish taking those flags up there. Takes the bridge as well. These rifles might be able to take back the high ground on the bottom side, but that is the only place where Pixy is doing well, and that is not really enough. These rhinos being brought in, again, not convinced that they are the right choice. They have a high amount of frontal armor, but the KV-85 still have more, and also more penetration, so the M4A1s are never going to win in this situation. The Hellcats, however, I think are a great choice. The Hellcats here could be, especially if used through light cover, could be perfect for dealing and cleaning up a lot of this armor. And the 26th doesn't actually have a lot of armor. Like, once he kills the rest of this, well, this KV-85, the IS-2, Nilla pretty much is only going to have KV-1Es left. So if you can, like, get rid of these, honestly, Pixy could have been in a good place. But I think it just lost too much to them early on. Nilla found a lot of value out of those heavier tanks. And yeah, these Hellcats, you can see they're doing really well here. They can just move up, they aim really fast. The KV-1E has a really slow turret, so it just doesn't really respond very well. Same with the KV-1S. That's going to be bailed out and finished off. Lovely stuff. Now comes the Yak-9Bs. They're looking for the bombing strike, I expect, onto the Hellcats. Looking for those kills. Manages to pin down all three with those bombing strikes. That's very nice. Actually, the Rhino doesn't get pinned down, but the two Hellcats either side do, which is quite something. The 17-7. M10's trying to engage the IS-1 down here. Probably an engagement that Pixy wasn't really paying attention to as the IL-2 comes in on the top here. That is an IL-237, by the way. It's had its bombs turned off at the bottom, as you can see here. And it's going to be using its 37mm AP rounds to try and kill the Rhino, but the Rhino survived that strike. But as we zoom out, you can see that the disparity in units between Nilla and Pixy is huge right now. The P-47 will finish off the IS-1. That was already damaged from the previous rocket strike. Manages to catch that out nicely. The M15s were not really in the right place to cover that, so Pixy managed to take advantage. P-47D back here. Tries to take on the Yak-9. The Yak-9 will most likely win this engagement quite favourably. P-47's not going nowhere. The Yak-9 is very, very quick. Gets right on the tail. Oh, the bombing strike does go off, though. Cheeky bombing strike there onto the Zis-3. There's one more KV-85 here. The KV-1E up on the hill. But after that, not much more armor. But the IL-2 comes in and takes out all three tanks on the top side. Oh, it's beautiful. You gotta love it when an IL-2 does the job like that. Well, I guess you gotta love it as long as you're not against it. The 37. It killed both of these and the Sherman in one run, and Pixy has had enough of that. Major victory, 17 minutes, 12 seconds. Well played, Nilla. Very well played. 2,260 kills to 1,600 losses. Nilla made maybe a couple of mistakes. I guess one would be the IS-1 getting killed by the rocket strike without the AA, but I mean, at that point in the game, it didn't really matter that much. I would say Pixy just didn't have the support for his units in the form of mostly mortars at the beginning. Like, mortars would have probably helped him out quite a bit there with the heavy armor. Like, when you can't directly face something, you've got to find a way to indirectly face it. And I think Pixy chose to go for the Air Force over the mortars. And since Nilla got the M15s up early, he was fine with that. Like, Nilla didn't mind. Like, that was perfectly fine for Nilla on that bottom side. So yeah, I think Nilla played it well. He managed to get a lot of value out of his heavy tanks early on. He managed to pull in the AA early on when he saw the P47s being brought out. And I think as soon as Pixy saw those P47s, going for the mortar approach would have been more sensible. But in the end, didn't really get to a point in the game for Pixy where he could leverage his numbers, especially armored numbers, in that game. Like, I feel like if he'd finish off the last of the KVs, then Pixy would have had a much better time finishing off that game. But Nilla did what he needed to do early on and got the job done. So, great work. In terms of kills, I'm not sure there was anything that did particularly well. Like the KV-85 there, taking out the M4A1's really, really good. Obviously taking out the Rhinos as well because they can, but this beautiful IL-2 strike. M18 Rhino. That's what you like to see out of those. Yeah, the Hellcats, you can see this one managed to pop the KV-85, the KV-1E, and this KV-1E. And these M18 Hellcats are really nice because compared to M10s, they have a really fast turning turret, so they can aim very, very quickly and therefore catch out their opponents. And like, KVs have very slow turrets, so you can shoot and back off before your opponent even shoots back with those Hellcats. So yeah, having those come sooner than later I think would have been handy. I think though he had to wait till phase B to get them. Which is fine, but he did lose too much in phase A to really rely on that, I guess. But yeah, that's game 1 of a best of 3 between Nilla and Pixy. Congratulations to Nilla taking that one. We'll see if Pixy can take it back in the second game. That's it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.